then I can go and do my thing.
Okay.
Because there's some other things like, that we're gonna need from him, like drainage calculations.
Do we need to put it on the slate?
Yeah.
He'll know. I think we probably will.
I'm gonna go.
He's based out of Lowell.
I responded
He
to
does
that.
a ton of stuff for me. He'll know exactly what we need to do for that. But that's, like, you're gonna need, yes, this site plan, like, with the, the official site plan of the building.
Do we know when the
Drainage
next
calculations.
deadline is?
Steve, I won't be here
What do you for?
in November,
I haven't really noticed that much.
That might happen.
You were saying you need to basically, like, send in the application, like,
Oh, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. But either way, like, I think if I remember correctly, confusing this one with this planning board. I think, planning board was like middle of the month, next month. And then they go to,
It's out for today.
every 2 weeks, starting in January.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, like, I can confirm that.
I would imagine that a lot of it's gonna be sort of overlap with what's required, but, planning board will likely do something for the line.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a look at the requirements. Yeah, let me know when this week
Yeah,
works, and you know.
yeah, maybe like Thursday, I
It's
don't know,
pretty-
I'll send you an email and I'll
Pretty
see
open, I think, at the moment. Yeah, Thursday morning or like late afternoon I can do.
later afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll
But either,
confirm with Matt and then these guys as well.
Hey, how you doing?
Thursday.
Go ahead.
Oh, you know what? We actually, so by the way,
Yeah, we're good.
Thursday afternoon, we actually have a meeting here with UTEC.
Oh, okay.
Media Butters,
Okay.
that has also those buildings next to us. So Rob reached out to introduce himself and then, try to get access to the basement as well.
Okay. Oh,
If
see,
the
yeah,
meeting
see
goes
what's
well,
going on.
if
Yeah.
we're gonna wait to see how the conversation, because we were basically like, hey, heads up, we're the guys that are gonna be building next door. We wanted to share our plans, get ahead of it, you mentioned that to you last week, so this is the meeting to do that. They seem like, relative, at least over email, like relatively excited to meet us.
Wait, the building on the left is a rear?
Yeah, rear,
Building on the right?
left rear, and then the entire building on the right. So they have the entire building on the right, and then left rear, and then Andrew also got in touch with the guy
The law
front
office.
left,
Yep.
front left. So we have direct contact, we're lining up meetings with both
Okay.
of others.
Yeah, okay,
So,
okay, great.
so yeah, we're gonna ideally try to get access to basements.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, just get a sense, which one you look at, just like ceiling height?
Basically, yeah, I mean, if there's.
Yeah, materials.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
condition, foundation,
Yeah.
dining area,
And utilities coming in from the side, things like that. Because like the law office on the front, he was like, oh, I got gas meters over there. Like, yeah, I don't know.
They're
So
probably coming right from the street and trying to get the building.
Yeah,
I said,
probably.
but yeah, that's a good.
probably, but there's just like, so just kind of make note of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, when we see it coming in.
but yeah, there's a lead foot foundation.
All in
and,
favor, say aye.
We'll be 7 feet away from it, taking down.
All that stuff too, is like, you never know, like, it could be like super.
Yeah,
You don't even know, like,
exactly.
in Springfield, we have a building up on a hill, and the building behind was just a lot. And it was like this messed up old building, and our sewer line went under the building.
Yeah.
So they were tearing it down, trying to do like a 40-unit low-income thing.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to call this meeting to order, the meeting of the Lowell Historic Board for October 20th, 2025. We have a limited agenda tonight with an informational hearing of 22 Hurd Street, followed by an enforcement update from Steve, administrator's report, and board member items and inquiries. So without further ado, we'll get started and roll into the informational session on 22 Hurd Street.
Hey everyone, my name is Matt Landis. I'm from Scott Brown Architects, 48 Marcus Street, Newburyport, for the record. Just passing out, I believe you've seen these online already, but I'm just passing out some hard copies. Just want to flip through them as well.
Sure.
Just introduce yourself again with the mic.
Yeah, Matt, yep. When you get to the podium, just please reintroduce yourself. It's not for this room, but it's for the telecast. Thank you.
So I'm just gonna sit up here. Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Matt Langis. I'm the architect from Scott Brown Architects, 48 Market Street, Newburyport, Mass. So the packet in front of you is our proposal for a project at 22 Hurd Street. It's basically a vacant lot at the moment. It's an infill building between what was previously St. Paul's United Methodist Church, which was built around 1839, which is now the UTEC building. And on the back left corner, the old Elks Lodge, also part of UTEC, around 1923. And there's a law office towards the front. There's not a lot of historic data on that I could find, but somewhere around the mid-50s that was constructed. So our lot is basically in between. It's an asphalt parking lot at the moment, and from what I could find online, I couldn't see that there was any previously constructed buildings in our location, but as is right now, it's an empty parking lot. So on the packet in front of you, on the left side, there's a site plan, and what we're proposing is a 5-story residential building, 38 rental units. It's a mixture of studios, 1 and 2 bedrooms. And on the right side of the lot, there's a current 9-foot wide passageway, which we're still in the process of figuring out who owns this, but I believe it's city property. So that 9-foot buffer, we're recreating to a certain extent on the opposite side as a 7-foot buffer. So that'll allow some more natural light to come into the units, which is really important when you're sort of, approaching 50 feet tall. And that will also act as a passageway and an access for trash and refuse removal as well, as mechanical access and maybe even some potential exterior space for some ground floor units. And on the right is a conceptual rendering that we put together of the exterior. It's currently showing a traditional storefront on the ground level, resembling many of the mixed unit historic buildings on Merrimack Street, Kearney Square, that whole area. But this, the point of this was to sort of engage the pedestrian level with more human scale details and materials, part of what I think makes a mixed-use building successful. So above that storefront, we're showing a mixture of materials, a wood storefront, a separation of a metal roof. There's 3 levels of brick, and then finally finished with a stucco at the 5th floor. And on top of that is a traditional cornice cap that would wrap the perimeter of the entire building. So as I mentioned earlier, this building is a mixture of studios, 1 bedrooms, and 2 bedrooms. They range from 420 to 870 square feet. If you flip to the following page, you'll begin to see some ground floor and first floor unit conceptual layouts. The goal with the basement is to keep it, the majority of the basement, to keep it for mechanical storage, laundry, and possibly a fitness center that would service the residents that live above. The goal for the ground floor is to include a few units where we can, where they have access to exterior wall and natural light. There is some mechanical and trash space, and the majority of the spaces are separated with this north to south corridor, and a community space at the front. So this would typically be a commercial space or a cafe and a different configuration, but we wanted to have a space that either the community could use or the residents could share. On the next slide is configuration, or sorry, next slide, next page. It's configuration of the 2nd and 3rd floor layouts. They're pretty much identical. I mean, there's about 8 to 9 units per floor. And the arrangement really is set up in a way where we can maximize the amount of windows per bedroom. So they're in a linear fashion, parallel to the longest edge, where we can do that. And again, configuration of 1 and 2 bedrooms and studio units where they're kind of squeezed in between the 2 exterior egress stairs. On the following page are some conceptual layouts for the actual floor plans, what we're hoping to do. Again, these are ranging from a number of different square footages, but with the exception of a typo on the bottom right, there's a couple different units or a couple different options for a 1-bedroom unit. A studio would essentially just get rid of the wall that's in between, and then the 2-bedroom units are kind of bookended with bedrooms on either side, and the kitchen, living, dining space in between. The next sheet shows the architectural elevations. We're currently just over about 50 feet. That leaves, oh, I'm sorry.
Do you have another packet?
Oh, sure, yes.
You know what, I'll share here. Nope, just take this, I have it online, so we're good. I have it online, yep.
Thank you.
Of course. So from an elevation standpoint, we're just over 50 feet. Leaves about 12 to 12 and a half feet for the first floor and then 8 foot for the residential floors above. Not quite sure what we're going to be doing for, as far as a manufacturer for windows, but we're showing a 2/2 grill configuration. It was a little bit more of a Victorian style, kind of blended with the traditional or configuration of a mill or utilitarian mill building that is pretty common around Lowell. And then on the sides, we're showing a mixture of clapboard, shakes, and then possibly even some vertical or horizontal board at the top. Some of these things are not quite defined yet. I'm happy to hear some recommendations or some suggestions that the board might have, but we sort of preserve the front to be that historic character and let the sides be a little looser. And then finally, on the last page, which is 8.85, we're showing some awnings that are over the egress doorways on the right side of the building. This is in that 9-foot passageway. One of those awnings is on the front, which is over a public way. So this is a little bit of uncharted territory for us for who would need to sort of see that from an approval standpoint. But again, happy to take suggestions or comments about some of the information in here, but also the design overall, and look forward to presenting this the next hearing. I'm happy to answer any questions. The entire design team is here as well, developers, so we're happy to answer any questions or provide any more detail as needed.
Great, thank you. There was a lot there, right? And this is a big project for scale. I know you talked about the upper levels in terms of using brick and some stucco work, I think, on the top level. What would you envision for the front, the street level, like that storefront area?
So I imagined it being like a wood storefront. It would likely be a resemblance of wood, since we'd want to do like a rot-resistant material, so it would last longer.
Yep.
We typically do in high-traffic areas like an acre product, which is like a byproduct of rice husks. So that tends to fare pretty well and doesn't move as much as traditional PVC does, but a product that is rot-resistant would be the primary focus. And then above those areas where it doesn't quite run the risk of things bumping into it, we could switch to like a fly ash product like Boral. But traditional profiles, all that would resemble crown and bed moldings and traditional trim profiles that are pretty consistent throughout downtown would be the goal.
Sure, thank you.
It looks like a building that belongs in downtown.
Oh, appreciate it, thank you.
It really, when I look at a project like this, I like to see that it fits the neighborhood, right? And
Right.
this really, that profile of that road, this really does fit the neighborhood. I
Yeah,
agree.
it does
I
fit
agree,
the
yes.
neighborhood a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, I always forget that, I'm sorry. Did you hear me? That it
Yeah.
looks like belongs in the city.
No, and I think that's just like a nice nod to the whole neighborhood, paying attention to the height of that, what's in that neighborhood and the style. And I think it's very respectful, but very, nice, a nice rendition of what's being added there. Anyone else? So Steve, are you familiar with before we go down, the different alternative materials for the front?
Yes, I mean, it's the first time I'm hearing the materials, but yeah, yes.
Sure, okay. Yeah, and was there a question, someone, Jeffy?
Well, I think with respect to the storefront, I appreciate your interest in using a traditional wood material for that. We have approved a lot of other new construction downtown where metal storefronts have been used, and those may end up being more durable, and you may want to consider that as you develop this design further. It's, we have lots of models that Steve can share with you on what's worked in terms of details and materials. We don't want the concern we have is that we don't want to create a false sense of historical development and trick people to think, this is a historic building that has with a traditional wood storefront. We want to have to definitely be read as a 21st century building. So it's really in the tweaking of those details and the material use that will come across. So that's just something to consider. And I think just with respect to the height, I know that most of the buildings on Hurd Street in Warren are in the 3 to 4 story range. So I know this is going 1 story taller than that. I think the different treatment of the 5th floor, I think helps make this work with the context, but it's hard for me just to see just how, just looking at this elevation rendering, it's hard to get a sense of how this would fit in with the scale of that street front. So it might be useful for the final application to include some rendering showing how this relates directly to the UTEC, the reused church building and other building to the left of it, just so we can see it, get a better sense of how it fits in at that height. Because the church is kind of unusual massing, and we're introducing a kind of a new blocky building next to it. So it would help us to get a better sense of how it fits in by getting those more distant rendering views. I had a question about the Warren Street side of the site. There is this kind of, I see that the building property ends and there's a kind of a gap between the property line and the sidewalk. Is that property owned by UTEC, and you were not able to acquire that as part of the transaction?
They're using it as parking currently.
And they'll continue to do that? So do you anticipate there being some sort of fence between your property and the parking, or?
There's a fence there now,
Okay.
the parcels, yeah.
Uh-huh.
We did start looking into some of the other requirements as part of both the planning board and historic. So we have just begun looking at landscaping and any possible area that we might be able to get it. So that might be a good opportunity to provide some screening from any cars that might be pulling in, especially headlights or people coming in and out at nighttime. I would imagine it being sort of a nuisance for
Right.
some of those first floor units there. So it's definitely something we can look into.
Right. Yeah, it's a little unfortunate because it creates a kind of an awkward, on the Warren Street side, you have buildings that are right up against the sidewalk on both sides of this building, and here we're going to have a big setback to the rear of your building. And we certainly I think that this building should have some sort of presence on Warren Street. Obviously, this is the secondary facade, the rear, but I'm just wondering whether we might want to have more articulation and definition of that facade to have it not look like this is the back of a building, because it will definitely have a presence, even though it will be set back from the street edge and the sidewalk edge. It will still have a strong presence as one travels along Warren, and I'm not sure if you want to look at brick for that facade or other materials that just make it a little more of a refined design there. I'm struggling a little bit with that piece of it.
I don't, it's interesting that you have those thoughts, right? I guess I'm kind of surprised, though, that's almost, I'm going to use the term, you're like landlocked back there, right? Like, how are you going to get your garbage out, right?
So that's why, we'll be utilizing most of the 7-foot wide access pathway, at least towards the front.
Yeah.
The main trash room is actually going to be located on the first floor, so inside the building. So any residents would be able to bring down their trash in the building, and access to that trash room will be from outside on that 7-foot pathway. So it's an interesting point. I mean, it is architecturally something a bit challenging to work around, that little pie piece of land in the back. But I think we'll certainly do our best from a screening standpoint, making sure that those units still feel private, and then address it how we can in articulation on that side.
I looked at it from this point, Jeffrey, is the project we just looked at on Central Street. And Steve, remind me, we just looked at this a few months ago, the old
JJ's Pub.
JJ's Pub, thank you. This reminds me of that in the back, right? We have the front being really brought forward, and then we're adding all those residential units in the back. This kind of reminds me of that same, because that back is also exposed to the parking lot of the building next to it, so. you know, it's the back of a building, right? It's the back of a building, it's the back of a building. And you have like that little crescent, could be anything. It could have been a green space or something, or a building that's no longer there, you don't know. But it's interesting, you know, how do you get creative? And probably, how do you present the screening, even if, how you're gonna screen those lights? Maybe something for the next presentation.
Yeah, and I think having some rendering showing that backside as well on Warren Street for us to get a better sense of how that would read along the streetscape.
Yeah.
I agree. I had the same concern with regard to the scale of the building. Otherwise, I love everything about it. The capped roof, I love that. I love the thought that you'd like to make it a mixed-use building. But again, the scale of it is hard to imagine based on what's next to it.
Okay, Deb?
I didn't hear what you said, what you were going to put in the 9-foot alleyway, walkway, whatever, how you want to determine it.
So, well, that is, I believe that's city property. So we have a zero lot line building, so, or property, I should say. So we'll be close to, if not relative, almost on the line of our property. But beyond that, I think what we were sort of struggling with, at least how to handle from an approval standpoint, are the awning overhangs that would be proposed to be at the egress stairwells. Considering that that would be overhanging on someone else's property, is just something that we will just need to navigate a bit more. If it becomes more of a challenging thing and not quite something the city would want to see, then I think those are easily removable. At least from, I mean, a design standpoint, it's a couple of buttons, but that's essentially what I was trying to say.
Okay, I just didn't hear you.
Okay.
And I know we don't have any, say, on the inside, but I was glad to see some studio apartments. I think that's important for our housing needs here in the city, so I was happy to see. I think I saw 3 or 4, which is good.
My question for Steve. Steve, have we seen projects where we've had this awning type issue or a temporary structure where?
What would happen with the canopies, the one over the main entrance, over the sidewalk, that would be looked at kind of like a projecting sign for a business. It would need a vote of city council, license agreement, proof of insurance with the city named on the policy for the building or the ownership or whatever. The side ones along UTEC, is that still being determined if it's city or halfway to the center? Yeah, I mean, if it's half yours and half UTEC's, you know, it's the agreement between the property owners if it interferes with that passageway at all. But for the least the one on the sidewalk, I mean, the board, if they see fit, could approve the canopies contingent upon any needed city council and approval and license agreement. I wouldn't foresee any issues with a lot of those with the projecting signs are pretty pro forma before the council.
Yeah. Great. Troy or Gray, did you have any questions on the phones?
No, I don't. Thanks. It was interesting to hear the proceedings.
So Troy here. I was just going to ask regarding, and again, maybe this was already said, just the screening
Get back to you in a minute.
for the actual units, the rooftop units, and if those are, you know, like what's the visibility of those units from you know, from different aspects of the site.
Okay, so you're talking about the building mechanicals, and will they be screened?
Yeah.
Okay. The building mechanicals, are they on the roof?
They'll likely be on the roof. I would imagine them being sort of like the suitcase compact mini-split units, which are traditionally put right down the center of the building over the corridor on vibrator strips to limit the noise to the residents downstairs. But being up 50 feet, I don't imagine you would see that from the streetscape, but we would put them directly in the center and align all 38 in a row of 2 or 3, or once we have some idea from mechanical, some MEP folks, we'll be able to answer that with some more certainty. But I do know that part of, I think, our next submission is to submit a roof plan, some sun studies, and we'll make sure to show where we plan to have those located.
Sure, great. Thank you. Troy, you all set?
Yeah, no, thank you.
Okay, great.
No, thanks. I had some questions, but they were answered by others who asked the question. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Can I just add one more thing, George? To add, I do like the treatment of at the cornice level with the overhang element. The brackets that you have there, it's hard to see what that detail is, but I would just kind of, in line with my comments about the storefront, advise you to treat those so that they look like a modern design element and not replicating carved brackets that we see on historic structures within the city. I think that can be done in a way that makes them read as modern elements, but something for you to think about as well.
Not to copy the Tremont Yard building on Father Morissette Boulevard, but if you go up Father Morissette, there's a one Tremont Place. It's a contemporary office building.
Right.
It has a cornice with brackets, but they're just angled triangular pieces of metal. Again, not to copy that literally, but that shows you a period cornice reinterpreted in a contemporary manner.
Interesting. It was one Tremont Place?
The Jeanne d'Arc Credit Union headquarters. Some of us are familiar with the building.
Very familiar with the building. Yes.
I must have missed that. Check it out. Let's get good views from this top floor.
I think so, yeah.
Well, you don't.
We'll see when it's
There's a good drone up there.
Oh, my goodness.
We
But I
can,
can see, there's just so many pretty pictures, like, of the city hall from that location.
We do have a drone at the office that I've been dying to use, so it could be a good opportunity to get out here and get some views.
Yeah,
there you go. There you go.
beautiful.
Any other questions from the board on this project?
Nothing for me.
Okay. Hey, Gray, any other questions?
No questions.
Great, thank you. So, typically, we appreciate this opportunity to see this, right? We like to set these up for success, right? So you kind of get a feel for what we're looking for and what type of questions we'd have as we go through the formal hearing, et cetera. Any other questions or anything? Steve is your guy,
Right.
right? Talk to him, definitely reach out to him, right? About products, materials, colors, anything like that.
Great.
And then just get prepped and come on back,
Perfect,
okay?
excellent. Thank you
Great.
very much.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So Steve, do we want to move on to the firehouse next before we go into enforcement actions? Okay. So we'll just speak on that for a little bit?
Yeah, under the administrator's report, there's a brief section on the Mammoth Road Firehouse that has applied for Community Preservation Act funds for its rehabilitation into housing. This is similar to a year or two ago when Transfiguration Church was applying for work, but in a similar way, it is not listed or designated on any historic register. And to be eligible for CPA funding, it needs to be on the state register, national register, or certified by the local historic body as being significant in a community's history, culture, architecture, and so on. So in much the same way the vote was taken on the Transfiguration, it's requested that a similar vote be taken here so that it allows the project proponent to move forth on their CPA funding application.
Okay. So to move this along, we need to take a vote?
Yes, a similar one to the Transfiguration. And what I would then do is let the CPA staff person know that the board, acknowledge that the building is significant in Lowell's history, culture, architecture for the reasons outlined in the draft memo.
Sure.
Or the draft memo and also the draft motion.
Okay. Has everyone had a chance to review that? And how do they feel? Any questions or comments for Steve?
It makes sense to me. It's in my neighborhood, and I've been there for 37. Oh, makes sense to me. It's in my neighborhood, and I've lived there for 36 years, so I'm almost at the 50, by the grace of God. So I would move it along. I think it's in line with the church. Not that grand scale, but
No, but these older buildings, and, I drive by the High Street one all the time, the detailing and the level of workmanship that went into a firehouse building, right? Over the
that's
years.
why they've had no renovations.
Yes, right, exactly. Is really something to maintain and celebrate, so.
Right.
So I agree. Aurora, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think when we think about what history to preserve, I think firehouses are really an important type of building to keep. I think when you think about what history speaks to people, I think a lot of people are really interested in the history of firefighting and of fire preservation. And I think those stories are very evocative to people, and I think people like to be able to see that history and see that history survive in building form. And I think probably a lot of people are more interested in those buildings than a lot of the buildings that do get preserved. And as you say, it's a really beautiful building, and it's really interesting to see those buildings that were very functional buildings, and at the same time they were built in such a stylish way.
Correct. True. Oh, it's true. And there's one that anchors every part of the city, right? There's the Branch Street over in Cambodia Town, and and
Yes, 100%.
right, and they're all of equal stature. They're all beautiful. Troy, any comments on the firehouse?
Yes, no, definitely I'm in favor. I mean, the building is it's a great piece of architecture, and I think that, it adds a lot of value as far as, again, really telling a story, to people coming in to Lowell and, the community. So, yeah, definitely I'll be in favor of, moving forward with firehouse.
Okay. Jeffrey?
Yeah, I've not been to the site myself, but just looking at the street views online, it appears that it retains most of its architectural integrity. Hasn't really been altered. So I'm grateful for that. Steve, do we know when that building was vacated by the city? How long has it stood unused?
It was vacated by the city just a couple of years ago. Fire prevention had been working.
Oh, that recently. Oh, okay, good.
Very recent fire prevention had been, and then it was declared surplus by the city.
Okay.
In fact, the person that's proposing to do the work there is also responsible for doing yet another surplus fire station several years ago up in Centerville. So the person has experience, I guess you could say, rehabbing firehouses into housing.
Yeah, it seems like just from its massing, it would lend itself well to reuse for housing, although I'm curious how they're going to treat the hose tower, because that's not really an occupiable space. So we'll see what happens to that, if that gets demolished or not. But I'm definitely in support of this being deemed a historic structure.
This is Greg. To what extent are I don't know if you've seen the preliminary plans that the architect, the developer has in mind, but to what extent would the plans affect our position on whether it should be considered a historic property or not?
We wouldn't really have any design review or oversight of it because it's out of the review district. The applicant for CPA funds has put in for historic preservation and housing, and there's certain guidelines that in using the CPA funds, it must be utilized in such a way consistent with the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation, as well as down the road, we would be probably seeing yet another preservation restriction that the board would then have, review on any changes after the project's completed. So that's what's happening with all of the CPA-funded preservation projects, is that in the end, the board will have a deed restriction on it and be the holder of the restriction.
I see. Thanks for that. Just one other question related to this. But who provides any of the initial oversight? I mean, we wouldn't have that, in our purview, would we, to have oversight in terms of the design?
No, none at all, because it doesn't fall within any of our review districts. It would be the Community Preservation Committee that Troy is on would be overseeing this.
Oh, that's hard. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yes, he's the board's representative to the CPC.
Yeah, okay. It is a very significant, architecturally important building in that part of the city. And it's good to know they're going to, I guess, preserve the hose tower.
So Steve, you gave me this to read. Shall we-
If someone could make that motion
So-
and second it.
So Steve gave a suggested word for language for a motion. I don't know if someone wants
Sure,
to make
I'd
the
be happy to.
motion, and then we'll take it from there.
All right, I move that the former Mammoth Road Firehouse, built in 1891 and located at 93 Mammoth Road, is significant to the history, architecture, and culture of Lowell as the first Queen Anne-style firehouse built in Lowell, and one of only 2 surviving Queen Anne-style firehouses, the other being on Lawrence Street.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes.
One thing to note on the Lawrence Street Station, that was actually designed, that one, by Frederick Stickney, who did the library. Yeah. Jeffrey's friend, Frederick Stickney, from years ago.
Excellent. Okay. So Steve, since we're on administrator's report, you want to finish up with that, and then we'll scoot back to enforcement actions?
Everything in the administrator's report is there for information. Let's see, I mean, the sun sign, that material went out today, you've seen that. We have the relighting event happening a week from tonight, the 27th at 6:30 down at LMA on the plaza. We did the relighting of it, testing last Tuesday evening, and everything checked out fine. So we're ready to go for the relighting event, and I'm sure you've seen some of the pictures online and so forth of that. So we were pretty happy with how it all turned out in the end, so.
Now, it's an exciting project, and I know this has been a project of yours for a number of years. So kudos to you for following this all the way through to the end. Now, when this is lit, will this be like the final lighting, or will there be?
No, what will happen is the gentleman who did the work on the roof, he'll flick a switch up there to turn the green letters on first, since that's what's facing the LMA, and then he'll go over and turn the red ones on, and then they just stay on, and then sometime around dawn, the photo sensor, the light sensor cell, they go off, and then the next evening, they'll just come on automatically.
Oh, that's nice. Set it and forget it.
Exactly.
I love it. Okay. That's great. That's exciting. Exciting. Okay. Enforcement actions update.
I'm sorry.
Oh, Greg?
Gray, you had something?
No, I had nothing to add.
Okay. Now, in terms of the violations and enforcement, it's kind of pretty the standard things with some maintenance work that was wrapping up on a few of the buildings indicated there on 101 Central and 65 Merrimack Street. I'm sure, while it wasn't something the board cited or recognized as deficient, I'm sure you've noticed the central firehouse tower on Palmer Street just was 100% repointed, and copper work was replicated there. Again, that's a maintenance project. And as well as air lofts at 172 Middle just had their masonry wrapped up, and there's going to be some spot repointing maintenance done on 181 Market, the Market Gallery building on the rear and on the right side. But other than that, when we meet with people and it's say, hey, that lit open sign, we switch it out with one of our open signs that we have now and so forth. But other than that, things are, pretty quiet on that. The maintenance seems to be performing well when we let people know it has to be done, and they're pretty. They're pretty compliant with when we go around and mention things, cold calls that they should take care of as well.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's good. That's good. Yeah, no, it's nice to see that people are responsive in that manner.
Good job.
Yes. Okay, board member inquiries and items. I open it up to the board for any questions for Steve or any inquiries.
I'm excited for the, Lowell Sun sign. Good. That's gonna be, that's history. Oh, geez, me. George, can you light
I think
that up for
we're
me
gonna,
every time?
we're gonna get a sensor for you.
You know, coming through the city, that was always something that you saw.
The sun sign?
The
Yeah.
sun sign, and sometimes you had different reactions to it, like, oh my God, look at all those people, like, making those bad things, or, it was good. It was a good institution in the city of Lowell for a long, long time.
Well, as I've always told people about the sun sign, I mean, what makes up the historic district in the national park is a critical mass of historic buildings and other resources. However, there are certain things that do stand out as sort of being, I don't want to say extra special, but almost landmark or iconic. You know, you think of the gold dome of Holy Trinity Church, St. Patrick's Tower, the City Hall's tower, the boot mill, weather vane, and clock tower, and I think the sun sign is in that category as something along with the mill smokestacks.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, I think when you look at, when you think of Lowell in general, right? You think of what makes Lowell Lowell. It's really the smokestacks, the gold dome, the eagle on top of City Hall, the sun sign, right? And those things are what make Lowell Lowell. And if you were to kind of, it's the whole is made up by a sum of those parts. And if you lose any of those parts, Lowell kind of loses its whole identity.
That sounds like excellent remarks for you to make on Monday night next week.
No, that's good.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
If you're asking, I'm saying those are really good remarks.
yes. So, Aurora,
She knows.
Aurora's pearls of wisdom.
Yeah, I really agree. I think if you got Lowell in Pictionary, like, what would you draw to try to represent Lowell? The sun sign is definitely one of those things. And I think being able to light it up, again, shows a level of attention and care that having the sun sign being out, I think, did feel a little sad and felt like we, even though there were a lot of good reasons why it was complicated to keep a neon sign going into the 2020s, I think having it out kind of felt like a defeat, and I think having it lit up again feels like a victory.
That's a good point. It's like the smokestack Christmas tree on January 10th when they don't light it up anymore, right? You're like, it's
Right.
gone, where'd it go, right? It's the
You
same thing.
notice it.
You do, you miss it, right? You get so accustomed to it, yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
My granddaughter looks for it all the time.
Yes, they got the ladders up, all 44 of them tethered to the thing, so they're going to be putting back up soon. Yep. I'm on Christmas tree watch now every day.
Are you? Nice.
Well, that's my building, so
I know.
it's right next door, I watch for it, so.
Awesome.
Yes, so nothing else? Okay, any other questions from the board? Troy,
Snacks outside?
Troy or Greg?
Nothing for me, all
No
set.
cookies?
Okay. Greg?
No, congratulations, Steve, on the sign, the Lowell Sun sign.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, with that said, we're just looking for a,
I have a question.
okay,
I think we should have some cookies out there.
No food.
what?
Sorry. You'll get food after somewhere if you'd like.
I'll bring the cookies.
We're closest to, oh my goodness.
Oh, that sub shop.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, not the
no,
sub
Blue
shop.
Chalet.
Blue Chalet, thank you.
I've been dying for their chicken hot tie.
I was just going for a martini, but you do you, I'll do me.
Which is your feeding site?
Yeah.
Which one is yours? Blue Chalet?
Blue Chalet?
Yeah.
I've never eaten a Blue Chalet, to be honest, so, right, maybe. But no cookie, not even
sorry.
a cookie, Steve? Like, oh my, wow, okay.
It's a lot of work. I understand. I used to be the administrator too, and I'd be like, oh,
A cake with the sun on it or something, no?
This is,
the sun will come out.
for those
should
watching
practice
at
that
home,
song.
Glad
the
this
lack
is
of
off.
refreshments is your
Okay.
tax dollars. I was saying, for those watching at home, the lack
Okay,
of refreshments.
we have a
is
motion
tax
to
dollars
adjourn.
being
Do we have a
saved
second?
They'll complain.
and used
yes.
responsibly elsewhere.
We have a second from Troy. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you in November.
Thank you, George.
I want to show you something. This is
Hi,
the
hi, Troy.
take.
Thanks, Troy.
Thank you.